and lively entertainment. Now, the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco is as interesting as any exhibit, so a current remarkable show makes for a winning combination. For decades, archaeologists have been working all across the Arabian Peninsula, digging up hundreds of objects that date back to even prehistoric times. They reveal a fascinating past. Those discoveries are the basis for the exhibit Roads of Arabia, Archaeology and History of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And joining me right now is the curator for the Asian Art Museum, Dany Chan. Dany, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, I already told you that I'm a fan. I plan to go to the show, and it is kind of a big job, but give us an idea in terms of what people will see when they come to the exhibit.
Yes, so in the exhibit, they will see art and artifacts that date from over 1 million years ago to the 10th or 11th century. They'll see stone tools, colossal stone sculptures, gold jewelry, bronze statues, ceramic bowls, even gilded doors from the Kaaba.
It's like when I went to the King Tut exhibit.
Yes.
You see all the artifacts themselves are kind of fascinating, but collectively, what does it kind of tell us about early Saudi Arabia and maybe where they progressed to now?
Yes, so one of the main storylines that I would love all of our visitors to walk away from is that these objects reveal that the Arabian Peninsula had served as a cultural crossroads over the thousands of years that we're talking about. And so, Arabian Peninsula may have been one of the routes that Homo erectus took when they migrated out of Africa. Then the incense roads connected Arabia to the Mediterranean world, Mesopotamia, Egypt. And then later, of course, with the Islamic period, pilgrimage roads took pilgrims from outside of Arabia into the peninsula.
Where did they look for where to dig, when they have that kind of a vast trail and so many sites to kind of, it's not an easy project to go and find these things. How did they decide what to do? What gave them their clues or what gave them their markers?
Well, one of the interesting stories in this exhibition is that many of the early discoveries were accidental. And this is sort of like an archaeological, fairy tale.
Oh, yeah.
And so we have artifacts that have been discovered by a camel herder while he was digging a pond for his camels. But then there was a school teacher who discovered a pit of shards. And so those were the types of discoveries that began archaeologists' interest.
Probably encouraged the people who finance these kind of things as well, right?
Yes, so now, especially in Saudi Arabia, there's specifically a department that oversees over 300 archaeological sites. So now these discoveries are being more systematic.
For you, when you're looking at what they're finding, what amazes you or what impresses you in terms of the kind of things they're finding?
I am definitely most impressed by the variety of objects that are found. Like many of our regular visitors, my first impression of Saudi Arabia, it's not my specialty.
Yes.
My impression of the Arabian Peninsula is it's just a vast desert. But yet you see these objects and, you can tell that there were diverse groups of people living there. They had connections to the outside world, and they were certainly wealthy too. And so you have not only goods, products that were created for the elite class within the peninsula, but they imported luxury objects from outside as well. And so that was most surprising to me, but artistically, you see motifs that connect the Arabian Peninsula with other cultures that you're more familiar, like, oh, of course, this Greek god, I know it from the Roman world, but why is it appearing on the Arabian Peninsula?
It's like with the using the King Tut exhibit as well as an example. A lot of the things that you notice is that it was preserved. A lot of the items were preserved because they were wealthy people who were kind of burying loved ones, and they were burying artifacts or what would turn out to be artifacts later. Is that what they're finding? Are they finding things that were preserved deliberately for eternity, or are they stumbling more across regular villages, regular cities, regular places?
It's 50-50. We definitely have funerary objects. But then we also have objects that were used in daily life, but they were definitely considered luxury objects. You can tell that by the material and the value of the material. Yeah. But we also get instances where, because the objects were buried close to deceased, which speaks to its value, they were more preserved.
And of course, the richer objects, the more valuable objects are enticing to look at, but I find that a lot of people want to see the day-to-day things that tell what people lived like on a day-to-day basis. Will they see that in this exhibit as well?
Yes, they will. Yes, they will.
Now, I already told you that the Asian Art Museum itself is, to me, as much a cultural icon as any other place, and certainly as worthy as any exhibit that I've seen. What's it like being sort of at the center of such a place of cultural energy, especially in the Bay Area?
Oh, it's the place I've always wanted to be. And it's vibrant, and the museum, we are one of the largest museums in the Western world devoted exclusively to Asian art. And so that puts us in a very good position. We're linking the rest of the United States. We're the link between the rest of the United States and Asia across the ocean.
Is it the museum, would you say? You need to be modest, but is it the museum, or is there much competition? Is it hard to, like when there's a Saudi Arabia exhibit, is it difficult to bring it, especially to make it like a premiere?
In terms, I think
competition?
The competition nationally, yes. However, for the West Coast, if I'm going to be not modest, I think we are one of the premier.
And that's pretty much your mission, right? To try to bring it to the West Coast and first, right?
Yes, either be the first or the last or the only.
And the Saudi Arabia exhibit is an example of that?
Yes, we are the only venue on the West Coast for the U.S. tour for this exhibition.
Dany, thank you very much for being here.
You're
Appreciate
very
it.
welcome.
Very enjoyable listening.